Okay, so I'm going to stop it.
Ready. All right, Jumbo, my KOTC family, friends, and guests, I hope you are well. I hope you are happy, and I know that you're here, so you should be happy. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I know with this Corona quarantine, Friday just don't have the same zing like it usually does. We really haven't been working super, super hard, but it's still Friday and we still here. So we are grateful. We are happy. I'm happy to see everybody's new faces. I happen to see some returning faces, some old faces. I'm just happy to see faces at this point. So I'm gonna jump right in. There's two things I want to talk about really quick before we jump in. First thing, you know, I've been home a week now. I got actually a week. You know, I was on the train this time last Friday coming home. So I've been home a week and settled to kind of get settled back into everything. And so one thing I wanted to focus on today is kind of a story with a little message. It's something I'm working on. So when I first moved to Philly, one of the things that really impressed me was the row houses, the row homes. That is something that's unique to the East Coast. You know, we can come all over Philly, step into Baltimore, step into New York, you're gonna see the row homes. That's nothing that you don't really see in the Midwest. You see more of a house, a yard, a driveway, there's separation. And I always loved the row homes coming here. You know, there's the pros and the cons. It's like you have to know your neighbor, whether you like them or not, you know who they are. If they got roaches, you better start cleaning twice as much because they might be coming over. Same thing for mice. And so one day on our street, and you know, we're in a city that they're heavily gentrifying at this time. And one day I saw them, they had torn down a house. I got up in that morning, and this was when I was working as a teacher's assistant, and they were tearing down a house. And when I came back from school, the house was completely leveled. It was a lot. And I was talking to my neighbor about it, and I was like, I saw the house next door, how it had pretty much been exposed. You can see the brick, you can see different electric work and things like that from the house that was still standing. And I said, now, what are they gonna do about that? And she said, oh, it's the law. Whoever demolishes a house, they have to pay to get the house that's standing sealed up. And within those 2 days, I saw the contractors, they had sealed up the exposed house. They did the cement, kind of had a little design on it, but they sealed it up to make sure that there wouldn't be any damage that came over to that house that was still standing. And I was thinking about that concept this week because it made me think about forgiveness. Oftentimes, we may have been experienced some type of structure damage in our lives. Someone may have damaged us one way or another, and it left us exposed. And in a perfect world, whoever did that would make sure that they carried out the responsibility of sealing us up, making sure that we were healed and making sure that there was no more damage done to us. But we know we are not in a perfect world, and oftentimes, whenever we are damaged, usually we're not sealed up. And that's something that we have to take on ourselves. So for this week, I want us to make sure if someone has hurt you, if you've fallen out, you've burned a bridge, take the time. I'm not saying necessarily you have to contact that person, because one thing we need to understand is that we can forgive, but forgiveness does not always mean access. You can forgive someone, but that does not give them permission to have re-entry back into your life. But make sure that we are being forgiving. Make sure that we take the time. Sometimes, one time I had to actually write a letter. as if I'm sending it to that person, and then I burned it. But whatever has happened to you, and you know that there's an energy of forgiveness that needs to take place, make sure you are taking the time to forgive that person and forgive yourself. We as Black people, we need to learn how to forgive ourselves. Make sure that whatever is exposed, you are taking the time to seal and heal.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. And I'm gonna do my little story thing. I came home, I went home to see my dad and my mom, and they're doing well. My dad's doing better by the day, but he didn't let me leave without no toys, with no stories, no artifacts. So I'm gonna share with you 2 quick artifacts, and then I'm gonna get out your way. 3 quick ones. So my dad always told me about when he was in the Army, there was this fox. He had this pet fox. And I never believed him. You know, I'm like, who has a pet fox? I had a pet fox, and his name was Zero. And you just gotta let him tell the story. And he would tell me all these different things that Zero would do. And so we were going through pictures when I was home. I was organizing pictures for my parents. And my dad had a binder of just old Army pictures. And out of the binder slipped this picture of him and Zero. And this is the picture right here.
Oh.
Oh.
There you go.
Wow.
All that time I thought he was lying and just trying to embellish.
Look at
And
that.
I found he gave me the picture of him and Zero. Another thing that happened before I went home, there was a tree in our yard that grew. My dad had it planted, and as we got older, there was a tree we sat under, we played around it, all of that. But it got to the point it started to rot, so my dad had it torn down so it wouldn't fall over on the house. So I told my dad to save the wood. Like, if you can, save different pieces of the wood. So make a long story short, we took the pieces of the wood and we shellacked them, and we put different quotes on them, and we saved some for each one of my brothers, because this was a tree that we all grew up around. And so this one, I found different quotes, and this was an African proverb. I put, a family is like a thick forest. From the outside, it is dense. Inside, one sees that each tree has its own position. And I put on the bottom, from the Calvin and Evergene Best Family Tree, Gary, Indiana. So I have that. And one more thing. My dad blew the bugle when he was in the Army, and he gave me the bugle. So,
how nice.
Yes. So this is a real artifact. You already know I got a story that I'm working on for this bugle. So I'm just excited that I was able to go home and come away with one of many things my dad has. And so I'm glad that I'm able to bring these things into my home, because they're reminders of how important family is to me and how important family should be to you. And we all know, just from Keepers of the Culture, all family ain't blood and all blood ain't family. So we know who our tribe is, and we know who matters to us. So I want to share my gratitude to my Keepers of the Culture family, because that is truly what has grounded and rooted me in this city of Philadelphia. And I'm grateful for when my parents did come. Keepers of the Culture was the piece that they needed to know that I was okay all the way over here by myself. And they see that I'm not alone. So thank you all. And now let's move forward. Mama Oni, take it away.
Thank you, Paul. I was just going to unmute everyone so that they could make a comment on what you just shared with us. I love the opening story. It was so beautiful. Sometimes we do get hurt, and more times we might hurt others.
Mm-hmm.
So that story was so beautiful. And I think it would be nice to just get some feedback. I'd like to let our family, KOTC family, know that when someone speaks, they're going to be highlighted, and everyone else should just listen. That way it'll save me the time for muting and unmuting people.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm going to unmute everyone, and whoever speaks to what they just experienced or what Paul just shared, they're going to be focused, and we're going to give them that time to speak. Because if you say, oh, that's right, you'll show up on the screen. Okay? So we want to respect each other's time, respect each other's voice, and you know, just do it with just basic courtesy and listen to whoever shows up on the screen. And if you want to speak, then you can speak when that person's finished. That way I won't have to mute everybody or pick who to mute. So I'm going to unmute everyone right now.
Okay.
And if anyone would like to address what Paul said, then Zinga, you're up.
Okay.
Well,
Wait a
I
minute.
saw you up, but that just means there was a little noise coming from where you are. But Mama
Okay.
Irma, storytelling Irma, I see you. Did you want to speak to what Paul shared?
Yeah, I agree with everything he said.
Mhm.
It's a time of forgiving. Sometimes we think we can't forgive people, and it doesn't mean you got to go out and, you know, plead and all of that. You can forgive them, you know, without even talking to them. But forgiving yourself is very important, because sometimes we beat ourselves up and the other person isn't even thinking about it. And you can forgive not just one person, but you can forgive a deed that was done, you know. So I think we need to take time every day to think about forgiving and who we can forgive. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's not, but work on it, and it works. You'll feel much better. I love the artifacts. I just love the artifacts.
Mhm.
Wait for that bugle story. Oh man, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Thank you so much for that. It was a wonderful way to open the meeting.
Thank you, Mama.
I like to say I really liked what he said, what Paul said.
Any further comment, Birdie? That's it?
Yeah, I wanted to say I really like what Paul said. You know, a lot of words of wisdom. I was taking notes actually. I have a very
Or
close
secretary.
relative that I'm trying to forgive, and she has hurt me repeatedly. And I'm thinking maybe it's best. I like what Paul said. You can forgive, but not grant access. And I'm kind of at that point where I want to forgive in my heart and my mind, but I don't want to be hurt again. So I'm probably going to have to deny access for a while at least. So I like that about, you know, I like the way you put that. You can forgive and still not grant access, but you're forgiven. I like that. Let me think. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say that actually, the story that I'm going to tell tonight is kind of based on the things that people leave behind. So when we talk about artifacts, when elders leave, they leave a lot of stuff behind. And some stuff doesn't mean anything to anybody but them. I've been very mindful, like Jawara said before we all got started, I'm working on getting rid of some stuff in my house, because the things that I leave behind, I want them to be meaningful. And meaningful for my children, meaningful for who I bequeath them to, just meaningful. And, you know, sometimes what's meaningful for one person isn't meaningful for another.
So true. Anyone else want to speak on what Paul shared? Nzinga?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we love you. That's why you are son Paul. Because you got wisdom beyond your years.
Yes.
Thank you.
You have wisdom beyond. Thank you. Because we all need to be reminded that time is sacred. Love who you can love, forgive, and move on.
Thank you, Mama.
Thank you. Thank you, Nzinga.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would suggest you just wait, put your hand up if you want to speak, because we're getting some feedback when people, I unmute everyone. So if you want to say something, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Okay.
If not, we can proceed. And the first story we're going to hear is from Mama Carla.
Yay.
And let's put our listening ears on. Everybody can shake their instrument if you like. You're welcome. Let's shake our instrument.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to mute everyone now and just let, and you could unmute yourself, but we just want to listen. So we're going to listen to Mama Carla. She's going to share with us a story about her grandmother, and it's going to lead into some beautiful jewelry that she is promoting and sharing. And let's listen. Mama Carla.
For people who don't know, I've actually been selling jewelry online, but I've also been doing storytelling along with my jewelry shows live at least twice a week. And coming up, we're going to be doing tea parties at 2 o'clock every day for the month of May. And I will make sure that I put it up when that will get started. But Paul's story actually is really, what he was talking about really leads really well into this story. Silver gray hair, neatly combed in place. There were 4 generations of love on her face. She was so kind and so wise, no surprise ever passed her eye. 4 generations. That's what Grandma May had. She was over 100 when she passed away. Now, Grandma May, that was a tough lady. They called her the Colonel because she led the troops. She was the eldest in the family for many, many years. But she did pass. And when she did, her daughter that was left, Heather, and her twins, Biza and Bet, went to clean out her little house. Now, Biza was the sweet one of the twins. She was the child who was always helping her mama. Mama, do you need anything? Sweetheart, could you come sit with Grandma for a while? Yes, Mama. Now, it was hard sitting with Grandma because when Grandma was alive, she gave everybody a problem. She always had something to say, and most of the time it wasn't very nice. But she had a reason for it. She was a tough woman who had buried 2 husbands. She was a woman who had been through world wars. She had been through not eating. She had worked 3, sometimes 4 jobs and worked on a farm. Grandma May was a mess. She was something. But Biza would sit with her grandmother, and sometimes her grandmother's mind would wander, and she would talk about the things that happened when she was just a little girl. She would tell her all the stories. Now, Bet didn't have time to sit with Grandma. She couldn't stand the old lady. She was tired of her always talking about, what you gonna do with that nappy hair you have? You don't want to look like a bald-headed cooter rabbit. Not that anybody knew what a cooter rabbit was, but Grandma knew. But Bet couldn't stand it. And so she would stay as far away from as possible. Oh, she would send money to help out with Grandma. And every once in a while she'd come in, hi Grandma, how you doing? But she'd be gone and was always in her phone. But when Grandma passed, they needed to help their mother and go down and sort through her things. Mom, I only have a couple of days and I do have to take some calls, all right? No problem, sweetheart. You can do that, but we need to get through these things. I say we take it all and chuck it. Look at this. This is nothing but garbage. It's not garbage, her sister told her many times. These were grandmother's things. She loved these things. Can't act like that, Bet. These are you are still afraid of that old woman and she gone. Not afraid of forgetting her. She left us some good things too, darling. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose. And as they went through grandmother's things, they came upon her jewelry. Now the girls remembered grandma's jewelry. They remembered all of it because they used to play with it. When they first found the jewelry box, the twins looked at each other and said, cod liver oil. Cod liver oil? Yes, cod liver oil. Their mother started to laugh. What do you mean? Whenever you go to work, Mama, Grandma would make us take cod liver oil. And if we would hold still and take it in our mouth, we could play with some of her jewelry. We loved it because she had all kinds of beads. And because she had clip-on earrings, we would put those on too. Remember?
Yeah.
Bisa chuckled and said, yeah, I remember. Bet took her phone and put it in her pocket. Look, remember this? Yeah, I remember. We got it for her. It still has the tag on it. You mean she never wore it? Mama's eyes started to tear up. No, there's a whole lot of things that you all brought together that she never wore. She put it up because she knew one day she wouldn't be here. And she wanted y'all to have it, to remember her by. The girls got quiet for a moment. Bet stopped looking all sour, and Bisa's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't all bad with Grandma. No, I guess it wasn't. They went through the house, they found quilts, and they found tons and tons of pictures. And they remembered those times. They had their own little boxes that they put things that they were going to take home in. And everything else they put aside so that other members of the family could come and look through them. And then finally, at the end of the week, when everything was packed up and the house was almost empty, the three women stood there and looked around. What Bisa and Bet took away was that never again would children be playing in that little house, running through it. Not their children anyway. And that grandma won't be there ever again. And as ornery as that old woman was, and she was ornery, they loved her. And a part of her would always be in them. Now, sometimes we have harsh memories of people. And those memories stick with us. And we hold that pain right here. But there always should be a balance. There's reasons why people go through things. Bisa told Bet, Grandma said the reason why she always fussed at us about our hair is because when she was growing up, they weren't even allowed to wear their hair out in town. They used to accuse our people of carrying around lice, even though half the time we didn't have none. Really? Yeah. And she said the reason why she used to always put us in all those crinoline dresses, you know, the ones that showed your hiney. She did that because there was a time when they couldn't afford that. So to be able to dress our children up like that meant something. It showed honor to God and honor to each other. They talked about going down to the old church for family meeting. They talked about great grandma. They remembered great grandma. She was wonderful. Great grandma was also harsh to her sometimes. Grandma said that she used to make her stay home and let all the other kids go out and play. That's why grandma always wanted to go somewhere. These were things that Bet didn't know. Bet, she probably wouldn't have known either. But those times that she got a chance to stay with grandma, even though sometimes grandma was a pickle, gave her time to resolve feelings for her, gave her time to listen to her stories, gave her time to talk to her grandmother and get to know all about her. And that time also taught her to be patient. Be patient. You can't get to better days unless you make it through the night, baby. They closed the house, and the three women walked out with more than what they had come in with. From that moment on, Grandma's story stayed in the front, and they told all the children in the family. Because it's true, you can't get to better days unless you make it through the night. Sure.
Ashe.
Hey.
Yes, that was really good.
Awesome.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Hey, Ashe.
This beautiful necklace set, it's in my grandmother's favorite colors. A couple of people did get a chance to know my grandma. I know that Irma did. My grandma
Yeah.
was a pickle. Yeah, she was a mess.
Yeah,
And we didn't call her the colonel. We called her the general.
the
'Cause she
general.
was. General Jackson. General Jackson loved her hats. That's why I'm wearing this fascinator in honor of her.
Okay. She's honoring her grandma.
Carla,
Yes.
Mama Carla, can you type in on the chat button at the bottom? Could you let us know when you're going to be on your live jewelry showcase on
I
Facebook?
sure will. I will let you know that you can own this if you'd like it. It's $5 for the earrings and the necklace. And I'll put in all my information so that you can see it. Also, the set that I have on tonight with the earrings, you can also own this. It's $5. The bracelet itself is $5.
I want to own that flower. I want to own that flower on your head.
I'm sorry. This you can't own.
Flower on your head.
But we do have some pretty hair bows and things like that too, and they're on my website. But I'll make sure that I put them in so that everybody will be able to see them. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Mama
Miss
Janice.
Janice, how you doing?
We want to
Got in for
welcome
my 4-mile
Sandra,
walk run.
Janice.
Woo, go ahead.
Yes, I did 3 miles
My
today.
4-mile
Yes.
walk run.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for that.
Hey,
I love that.
I gotta get it in.
That's
the
right.
center of the
That's
universe.
Right. Yay.
That's right.
I'm
The center of the universe.
there.
Yay. Let's get it in. Let's get it in. Welcome, welcome Asake, and we want to welcome Jasmine, and we want to welcome Sandra and Adara. We want to welcome.
Oh, wow. This is good.
I'm so glad everyone
Hey,
came
family.
on board.
And
Oh, it's so nice to see everybody.
Nasir is with Adara. Nasir.
Yes, give the little youth some of your Spanish, Carla.
And,
I think he's are you Hispanic? Is he Hispanic?
He's half Hispanic. Well, actually, he's a quarter Hispanic, a quarter Guatemalan, Puerto Rican, and Vietnamese.
Can he speak
All
Spanish?
right.
Hola, ¿cómo
He speaks a little bit. He speaks a little bit.
¿De qué?
Hey, Jasmine.
Welcome.
Jasmine
Hi.
Jackson went to grad school with me as well. She
Hi,
went to grad school with me and
Jasmine.
Adara.
Excellent, nice. Well, we want to move on, friends, and we have Nzinga Aseleel and Nzinga.
Yes, just a second.
Story to share. Unless you have any comments, anyone has any comments?
Hey,
Okay, well, I'm going to mute everybody so we can put on our listening ears and listen to Nzinga. Hold on, Nzinga. I have to unmute you, though. All right? So just wait a minute, and I'll tell you when to start, sweetheart. All right. Move.
All right,
Sis.
peace, family. So grateful to have this sacred time with you. Last month was International Jazz Month, but I think we should celebrate jazz every day. That's just my opinion. And International Poetry Month, and a couple other things, but that's what I focused on. And let's see. I grew up on the show.
Did you want to do your Nzinga?
Yes.
Did you want to do your in the corners
No,
of my mind segment?
That'll be afterwards.
Okay, okay, all right.
Remember, I was gonna do
look into your camera a little bit more, because right now we're just seeing your chin.
Oh, you're kidding.
So if you look a little bit in your, that's much better. Thank you.
I'm trying to get everybody on here.
That's much better.
Okay.
All right, we're listening. Thank you.
Okay. Like I said, it's International Jazz Month. I just put this on for a gag, though. I know y'all tired of these things, right? You tired of these things. Anyway, I grew up on the shoulders of jazz. My dad was a jazz musician. He played the alto saxophone. And he was sitting in and playing with people like Bird and Train. And I didn't even know that side of his life except through his music, the way he played records for me. And he knew Billie Holiday and Gloria Lynn and Carmen McRae. These were all people, because actually Philadelphia was a hub for jazz in the 50s and the 60s. Cecil B. Moore Avenue, which used to be Columbia Avenue, my parents used to go out there all the time, and my dad would sit in the Parker, or he'd play with some other groups at Bell and Lou's. That would be like around 22nd and Cecil B. Moore. And they had other places in South Philly, Peps, Showboat, and my mother would get dressed up all fancy, and it would be wonderful. The music, because I grew up listening to Nina Simone, Hugh Masekela. This was a wonderful evolution for me. But I grew up on the shoulders of jazz because my dad was so strong in it, and I never left it. We lost some giants in jazz in the last month. McCoy Tyner, Bootsy Barnes, Jimmy Merritt, Wallace Roney, and Marcellus, I forget his first name, but you know him, the Whitman's dad. So I'm going to dedicate this piece. My dad's favorite song was Night and Day, in Body and Soul. I guess we're going through night and day now in a different kind of way. Somewhere between raw and finish, there were dark meet light, dark meets light. Somewhere between blue and green, hanging out with bass lines and saxophone screams, there is a peace, a passion, a light, a heavy tone. Somewhere between Monk, Miles, and Mozart, shadows fall. Ascending melodies, descending memories. Somewhere between lost lines, lost loves, short skies, spaces, places where we glimpse at the moon. Somewhere soft fingers caress a raindrop and the cool is kept quiet and we listen for when the lark sings. Somewhere between black, brown, and beige, there is a stage one, a page one, held in suspension. There are notes that slide in and out of time. There is a place in between dusk and dawn where jazz is made, where jazz is made, where jazz is made. Somewhere between Monk, Miles, and Mozart, vibrations are free, and so are we. Somewhere colors are free, and so are we. Somewhere between raw and finished, there's jazz. And we're still being creating ourselves. We're living the inspired lives as artists. So I just thank you tonight because I wanted to get my poetry to you guys some kind of way. So I hope you felt that. I'm trying to work on a little story about my dad and the jazz times I spent with him. He played the guitar also. Thank you.
Well, that was a beautiful story
It was.
about your dad.
Yay.
That was a beautiful story about your dad.
Snaps, Nzinga.
Thanks, Angie.
Sandra driving.
Awesome.
Snaps. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well, we were expecting Wanda Gadgets, and I don't see if she showed up.
No,
Don't
she
see her
didn't
yet.
feel good. She didn't feel good.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're freestyling Fridays, y'all. Come on now. Come on.
Hey.
Yeah, you
Yay.
got something to say, young blood? You got a story? You got a story, young blood? Huh?
You got a story for us?
Story?
Please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to tell a story.
Come on.
Okay. We're listening. All right. We're
Spit
listening.
it out.
Well, I usually just send out my stories to the public on the great internet web, as you all know, YouTube. That's how I share my stories. So
Okay.
this will be an upgrade.
Wow.
I actually have one of my stories that I was going to tell.
Okay, go ahead. Now, I don't want to unmute anyone because we're just going to stay unmuted and listen. What is your name, young man?
Nasir?
Nasir?
Yeah.
I like that name. Isn't that a nice name, y'all?
Yes.
Yes.
My dad
Yeah.
named me off a rapper. that's how we did
Nice.
me. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear it.
All right, so this is a story about this Japanese alien from a place called a universe called Tulion.
Okay. Keep going.
Tulion, a place where anybody can be who they want to be. A place where you can grow a tree, grow carbs, and live your life to the fullest. That didn't really last very long. One day, a group of men wearing red suits and black capes came to the village and demanded their king and queen. Now, nobody demands them. Nobody does, because it's their kingdom. They do what they want. And these men, here in this village, they have like stuff that you would see in like the old medieval stories. So they don't know nothing about weapons. They have bow and arrows and catapults. So these men pulled out weapons and demanded to see them, not knowing what these sorceries were. They let them just walk into there like they owned it. Walking in, the king and queen noticed these strange, mysterious men asking, "Who are you? Thou shalt not pass." He says, "Give us your horses, or we will burn this place to ashes." Demanding to know his name, the king sent out guards. They weren't as powerful as they thought they would be. So, after seeing what damage they could cause, they gave them their horses. But that's not the real reason why they were there for their horses. The real reason why they wanted their horses was because they knew that there was a source of this crystal called a implant crystal. There's all these crystals that keep the universe in peace. With those crystals, they can conquer realms, dimensions, worlds, planets. And with that kind of power, you don't want that to fall into the wrong hands. Looks like that didn't work out. So while they're in the kingdom waiting for them to grab their horses, there's a rumble, a shake through the earth, wondering, what is this sorcery? Nobody knows. So them being people not knowing what this stuff is, it's very new to them. They don't know what it is. And so they come out with that crystal, shiny with this glowing light. You don't know what it is, saying, it is us. We are the gods of fate. And these were cast out gods. They lost their powers, believing that everything that we've done for the people of all these earths and dimensions, what do we get out of it? We're protecting these people. What's in it for us? So that's why they were cast out, because these four men, they tried to destroy all realms, and then we would be the last surviving. That didn't work out because the elder gods determined that cannot happen, and they were sent out to the world. And them saying that what they're doing is right, they take it upon themselves to go to the elder gods and annihilate them. But that wasn't it. Just because you kill elder gods doesn't mean that you get unlimited power. So they, without any powers, just destroy elder gods. The other gods can't do anything about it. Because when you take down the most highest gods in the universe, people will fear you. You're the head alpha. But the only way for them to become the head alpha is they must gather all these crystals, and with their unlimited power, they can make a whole new kingdom. And the medieval dimension was the first to go. So they have one crystal. And mind you, there are only 4 crystals. So that's one. They need to go to 3 more dimensions that have the power crystals. I mean the implant crystal, sorry. So them annihilating them out, there are these little peasants that they call peasants, and they were in the dimension. They saw everything that they did, and they believed that the great Lord would send them something that can help with this. And their names are, sorry,
Nadir.
yes,
Nasir.
yes.
Does this story have 2 parts to it?
I'm not really finished with it. That's why I haven't really made it yet. It's an unfinished project so far.
Okay, but this is part 1 that we just heard, right? Correct?
Yes.
Is this part 1?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. So we want to allow more time for other tellers. I'm on the edge of my seats, want to know what's going to happen next. So do you think you could come back next week and share with us what's going to happen next?
Okay, yes.
Yes, I want to know if they get the rest of those crystals. Let's get them a hand.
I want to know how to get those crystals.
Yes.
He had no idea he was sharing today.
It'll make all of us tune in next week so we can hear the end.
Yes.
Next week I'm going to be counting off till we get to Friday.
Let's keep in mind, that's a Watoto that just told an original story.
Okay.
Yes.
I loved it.
So I'd like to know the spelling of your name, Nasir.
N-A-S-I-R.
Okay.
Nasir. And what is your last name?
N-G-O. No.
N-G-O. And how old are you?
11.
How young are you?
11.
11.
Wow.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
And everybody.
That is.
Oh,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
What
That
is
was
the name of your story?
The name of my
Nasir.
story is
Uh-huh.
called The Crystals of Fate.
The crystal.
All
Crystals
right.
of
The
fate.
crystals of fate.
nice.
All right.
Oh man.
And we're gonna get part 2 next week, right?
Yes.
okay.
All right.
Paul and I
I'm
like
looking forward
See
crystals.
you, Mama Dinga, with your crystals.
Yes, Paul and I love
Character.
crystals.
Oh, we keep the
you're gonna
crystals. We
introduce
keep the
us.
crystals.
Yes.
Paul probably
That'll be wonderful. He's going to introduce us to the characters.
Oh, I
Oh,
love it.
great.
Those two main characters are called Caden because my little brother's name is Caden. So I just wanted to put that there.
Great,
And then
great choice.
what?
Great choice.
Great choice.
And then his best friend Haku has been with him since the day they met, which was in what they call kindergarten.
They call kindergarten. Nobody else
That's
calls
right.
it kindergarten.
What they call kindergarten.
I love it.
Thank you, Nasir, for sharing.
Oh my
You're
God,
welcome.
that's
Thank
what
you
I
for
was
being
going
my
to say.
audience.
Thank you. I can't wait till next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was
Thank you,
really
dear.
good.
That was
I
awesome.
enjoyed you.
That was awesome. Awesome.
I'm going to get ready to roll out because I'm hungry. When you walk 4 miles, you come in,
Oh,
energy
Jen.
drink.
But thank you for coming.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Janice Curtis Green is our national president for National Association of Black Storytellers.
Yes.
So we are grateful that she came in.
Humble servant.
She's in Baltimore, like they call the center of the universe.
But now I got to come back next week to hear the story, not his story about the crystals.
Yes.
Center of the storyverse.
But
Thank
wait,
you, Mama
there's
Janice.
more. Wait, there's more. Janice, we'll be here for another hour. So if you want to pop back and tell a little short story, we'd love to hear from you. We really would.
After I have some food and a glass of wine, I don't think I'll.
Hello, thank you. And that's why she's our president.
There you go.
You know what to do.
Well, the offer still stands. Okay.
All righty.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mama Janice.
Yes, thank you.
All my spiritual children.
That's right.
Yes,
And,
precious.
And who's next? Who's next? Huh?
I want to know, this is Jawara.
All right.
I don't have anybody's faces.
No, my face is departed too.
Some people have their video off.
No,
You have
it's
to turn your video on, Jawar.
my
There you
it
go.
doesn't. No, my screen.
I can see everybody.
It says.
I can't see Laura.
It says your video is stopped.
Go where it says stop video
Yes.
and push that, then push it again.
A little round light came on the bottom. A little
Okay,
white
now push
dot.
it again.
The little dot went off. It said done speaking, safe driving mode,
Oh, you must have put on your driving mode, darling.
Oh, how did I do that?
I don't know, but that.
No, you aren't. You're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
All right, this poem is titled Not a Dress Rehearsal. This is not a dress rehearsal. The curtain's up and the audience is universal. This silent killer is looking for you. Being outside is an important clue to becoming a casualty, a victim of sorts, because you don't believe the news or the reports that this thing is bigger than you believe to be true. Coronavirus is infectious and can happen to you. None of us know where this is going. That's no excuse to function as one unknowing. This is not a dress rehearsal. There'll be no do-overs or role reversals. It's a scary time for one and all. Yet doctors and nurses heed the call to service those infected at risk to themselves, continuously begging that we keep to ourselves. I think that it's the least that we could do to ensure this virus doesn't get spread by you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank
That's
you.
so true.
That's good. Very
Very
good.
timely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Next time, next week.
Yeah.
Good night, DC.
Yeah, I'm gonna just.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's something we had to hear.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think people are still playing with this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Yes,
still
sis.
think that it's just something that's just gonna go away, but until they figure out what it is, we have to act like we know something,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because people are dying. Too many
Yeah.
people are dying.
Too many.
Do you know?
I spoke to my friend. Jawar, are you ready?
I want to say that of every 4 people that die of the virus, 3 are Black and 1 is other. And of the 3 that are Black, 2 of them had pre-existing conditions and 1 was young. So for every 4 people that die, it's a young Black person.
Wow.
And 2 people that
Yeah, I
had
heard that.
I have this
Now,
book
what happened
right
to the
here.
video?
Let me see.
Can y'all see this book? It might be
Spoken
backwards.
word for the young soul.
Who is that by? One of her multiple poetry books, all
Right.
original
Is
work.
that Mama Carla's?
No, this is Mama DC Murphy. I got my autographed copy 3 years ago, 2 years ago. So I had to go to the library and
How
get
can
that.
we get that book? How can we get a copy?
You can get it from me.
Could you put your information in the chat box,
can.
please? Okay, thank you.
And that leads me to another place, which is my new book.
Come on.
Oh. Go ahead, DC.
What's the name of it? Pretty Pieces?
It's called Pretty Pieces. And
And what is the theme of it? What is the theme of the book?
well, I'm a Philadelphia poet, so a lot of my poetry just comes from my Philadelphia people, how we act when our company goes home.
Oh, wow. Way out.
Yeah.
Could you share
There's
one of the poems?
There's some catchy Philadelphia poetry in there as well, but it's mostly just about us as a people and how we act, how we treat each other, the things we do, the things we say. And I've spoken in our language, in our dialect, not our academic language, but our family language, our neighborhood.
Can we hear something?
From the
so
new
we can get an understanding of what you saying, girlfriend. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm from North Philly, you know, I can't help it either, you know. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Chill out, Mama Oni.
You know what I'm saying? Chill. Take a chill pill. I want to hear what her drop her rhyme. Come on now.
Oh my goodness.
She talking about us. All right. So I want to know what she got to say.
Let me see. if I can find something handy.
It don't have to be so. It don't have to be too
I
long.
called myself cleaning up my office today, so I don't think I did such a good job though.
No, anything. What's in the book that you just showed us?
Because I still can't find anything. Well, here's one poem in the book.
Okay.
And this is called I Teach in Philly.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Wow.
Chill, Paul. Chill, Paul.
Hold on, take your seat now. You ready? Teachers go forth in the midst of ignorance and despair because children desperately need them there. Sure, schools more affluent certainly could use their direction, but students of privilege receive regular doses of love and affection. I teach in Philly because that's where I'm needed. In the bowels of the ghetto, my pasture is seated, not because my history or ethnicity decreed it. See, I know these kids benefit from my presence every day, if for no other reason than to show them a different way, the way to show up and try to do your best, the way to prepare for and ace that test, the way to solve problems without harsh words or hands, the critical importance of having future life plans, the way to use their brilliant minds to construct an argument, have empathy, be kind. I teach in Philly because that's where I'm from. Wouldn't trade my life experiences with anyone. Won't get me no medals or make my bank account fat. It's just that these kids need to see my example, and I'm down with that. I take comfort in knowing at the end of the day, I did work that matters and put possibility into play. Resourceful colleagues work alongside me in these trenches to nurture and enlighten babies caught in the clenches of political rhetoric, joblessness, and despair. Teachers who have the credentials to teach anywhere. Each day these kids see us or pass us in the hall. They're more apt to listen where their own dream calls. Teachers are that example, like possibly no other, not found in parent, in sister, or brother. There's a magic that happens, something bigger than the heart can hold. When our students understand and get the lesson, their pride never gets old. If I can just be a small part of that, then I hope I get to stay right where I'm at. I teach in Philly, because that's where I got my start. I teach in Philly, because here lies my heart.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, girl. I want that book.
Yes.
I want that book.
I want
Thank you.
that.
I want that
Thank
frame
you.
with a mat and everything.
Thank you. I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
Oh, you smoking in your room?
Am I what?
Got a lot of smoke around you. You got that Bob Marley shirt on, huh?
Oh my God. See there?
Come on,
Don't he have smoke in his frame?
It's something on the camera. It's my laptop camera.
Is that the story he's selling?
Yeah.
Y'all better leave me alone.
DC Murphy, you have a new fan. You have a new fan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tony,
yeah.
I have no video. I have no video.
Hi, Rumpelstiltskin.
Video. This is
I'm getting ready to tell a story, so you can't make it loud.
We can see you. We have no. It's up to what you're doing. We see you fine.
Yeah, I can see her.
I can't see anybody though.
I can't see anybody either. I can only see my. I want to talk. I want to talk to my folks that grew up in the South. Has any of you ever heard of flying heads?
Yeah.
Who was that that said? Carly, you've heard of flying heads?
Yes. I never knew what it was, but I've heard of them.
I didn't know either. And I spent the summers with my grandfather, who was a Geechee, and he asked me if I knew about the flying heads. And I said, no, Papa, I don't know about flying heads. He said, Gal, sit on down here. Let me tell you about these flying heads. So I sat down with my other cousins, and he said that one year his cousin came down from the city. She was a city girl, and she only came down in the summer times for a couple weeks. And she came down with her little boy, maybe 3-4 years old, and she wanted to show him how the fruit grew on the trees and the berries grew on the bushes, because all he had ever seen was supermarket fruit. And so I said, that's good, gal, that's good, but not this time of year. This ain't the time of year to be going out into the forest, no. But she ain't paid me no never mind, see, because she was a city girl. You know how them city folks think. They think they know everything, and they smarter than the country folks. So she took that boy She took that boy down the road. She took a basket with her to put the berries in. And she had been gone about an hour. And she said she heard this noise. She said, ooh, what was that? Didn't sound like an animal. What was that? She kept on picking berries, and she heard it again. She said, oh my goodness, that must be what my cousin was talking about, a flying head. Let's go. And so she put her baby up in her arms, she grabbed her basket of berries, and she started to run. And she ran, but you know, flying heads can run real fast and smell real good. So she got to the roof of the fork of the road, and she didn't know whether to go left or right. But on the right side, she saw a tall pine tree, and she was very good at climbing trees. So she took the right road, and up that tree she scampered. Oh, she got up in that tree, high up in that tree, and the flying head came. And he could smell her because they can smell real good. And he smelled her all around that tree. He just kept flying around and around that tree because he could smell her, but he couldn't see her. Meanwhile, the baby sitting on her lap, he didn't know the danger that they were really in. And he reached over to grab a piece of fruit off the tree, and the fruit fell to the ground, and the flying head saw it, and up the tree he went. And there he was, hovering in front of my cousin and her baby. And my girlfriend took that pine cone that she had just pulled off that tree, and she threw it in his face. The pine needles were all in his face. And he started rubbing his face up against the tree, trying to get those needles out of his face. And that gave her a chance to come down the tree and run. And she ran real fast, but flying heads run real fast. And pretty soon he was almost on her. And she thought about those berries. She took a handful of those berries out of her basket. She threw them over her left shoulder. And as soon as the berries hit the ground, a big old bush sprouted up, and the flying head hit that tree bush again. Pow! Now he's got the needles everywhere on his face. That gave her a chance to run again. Now the house was only about a half a block away. And she ran fast. And she finally got into the door, and she slammed the door. And she said to my grandfather, you were right. I shouldn't have taken my baby out there. That flying head followed me all the way. Meanwhile, the flying head was outside. He could smell her up to the house. And around the house he went, trying to figure out how to get in that house. Meanwhile, the baby was pulling on her skirt, saying, Mommy, I'm hungry, Mommy. And before she had gone to take the baby to the woods, my grandfather had roasted some chestnuts. So she said, well, come on, let's eat these chestnuts. And she stirred up the fire to heat the chestnuts up. And the smoke went up through the chimney, and the flying head saw it. And down the chimney he came. He didn't come right over right away. He wanted to see who this woman was that was able to get away from him. Because once he looks in your eyes, you can't get away. And he was hovering there. Yeah, how'll she get away from me? She must be magic. Those, what she's feeding that boy, they must be magical. And so he thought that those chestnuts were something magical. And he looked down below him, and he saw the black coals in the fire, and he thought they were chestnuts. So he took a whole big mouthful of them, and right away he realized it was a mistake, and he tried to spit them out, but he couldn't. He figured if he could get back up the chimney and get outside and get some fresh air, he would be okay. So up the chimney he went as fast as he could. But when he got to the top of the chimney, he wasn't nothing left but smoke. And that's why, gal, you don't know nothing about the flying head, because he ain't nothing left but smoke. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I love that.
Not as bad as a bald-headed cootie rabbit, girl.
Oh, God.
I actually asked my uncle what a bald-headed cootie rabbit was, because my grandmother used to say that all the time.
A bald-headed cootie rabbit.
Yes, a bald-headed cootie rabbit came from Brer Fox and from the Brer Tales.
Right.
And a cootie rabbit was one of those old rascally looking rabbits whose fur, half the fur was on and half the fur was off. And they said that it was an insult to the children who were out in the fields because it said that their hair, a lot of times they would cut their hair real short and stuff. And they said that that's what their hair looked in the little froze like bald-headed cool rabbits. And that's why when you went to church, you always straightened your hair and stuff so that it didn't look like that. But I thought that was some of the expressions. Does anybody know any country expressions? I think they're the best.
A little bit.
I mean,
I heard something similar growing up.
So which ones did you hear?
Bald-headed, like scallywag.
Scallywag.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but it's very similar to that. But I'm from the Midwest, and my parents are from Alabama and Mississippi. My grandparents are from Alabama and Mississippi, and they migrated to Chicago.
It's just some of the, like they said, that person's so mean. They're so mean that they're like 2 bricks thrown down the stairs, kicked a mile away.
Well, my
It's
mom,
like,
when I was at home, she was talking about people with this coronavirus, you know, going out anywhere, especially being so close to Chicago. And she's like, because they don't think fat meat greasy.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
You don't hear it much anymore. Fair in the Midland.
Oh yeah, fair in the Midland. I always say that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, fair in the Midland.
Fair in the Midland.
Fair in the Midland.
I'm kicking, but not too high.
Well, they were talking about how
I know one. My husband says, "Don't crack it till you back it." That's what they
What?
They would send somebody. They would send somebody to get the bottle of wine, and they said, "Don't crack it till you back it."
Oh,
my
Fair to Midland actually comes from the ships.
What?
Shipping forecast. When you say fair to Midland, what you
Fair
say?
in the Midland, yes.
Yeah, it came from the shipping forecast. So you'll hear that with people that live along the coast. We'll talk about being fair to Midland.
Yeah, my father was from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He brought that with him.
Oh.
Fair to Midland.
Fair in the
My
Midland.
grandmother had one.
My mother used to
My
talk about.
grandmother had one, and hers was. We'd always ask her, "What time is it?" She'd say, "It's time all dogs are dead. Ain't you glad you're a puppy?"
Your puppy, yeah.
That's a good one. Well, my grandfather would say, if there was no place for you to sit, he would say, "Sit on your fist and rear back on your thumb."
DC.
My mom used to say that even tongue and teeth fall out.
So
And
what?
yeah, she say even tongue and teeth fall out. And I'm thinking, what does that mean? I know teeth fall out, but how does your tongue fall out? But what she meant was that every now and again, that even though your tongue and teeth lie so close together, every now and then you bite one. Somebody gets bit. So
true.
no matter how close they are, at some point they're gonna fall out.
All right.
All right. And
Oh,
on the
I like
teeth
that.
thing, my uncle used to say, "How old are you?" He'd say, "I'm as old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth." he was
I
born
like
with his
that.
tongue. He was born with his tongue, but he's older than his teeth. Yeah.
Irma, I know you got plenty of them. I know you got plenty of them, Irma, with your dad.
Oh man, yeah, they're running through my head right now.
We should start a book.
I can start out one. Don't let the door hit you.
Where the good Lord split you.
We should
I know that one.
Okay, let's think of another one. Go ahead. Somebody else think of
My
something.
dad, whenever somebody say to him, "I can't stand you," he's like, "If you can't stand me, then sit down."
Oh, there you go.
I like that.
We should record these.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're recording now. We're recording now.
No, I mean we should make a book dialogue.
No, we should do like a little clip movie of just us saying those.
All right, this is a good one. This is gonna hurt you. It hurts me more than it's gonna hurt you.
Oh yeah.
Lies.
I used to say that all
Believe
the
that one.
time. It hurts me more than it hurts you. What our butt.
Does.
What else?
My great aunt used to say, if somebody asked her the time because they didn't have a watch on, they say what time it is. She say skin 30.
Oh,
I like that.
that's just like crack don't black. Black don't crack. Black don't crack. And you talk about how good a person looks when they get older.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
I like
The
that.
blacker the berry.
The sweeter it is.
Use. When it comes to you, it ain't no use.
Right back. Huh?
Oh gosh, we used to do that one all the time.
Ain't nothing to it.
But
But
to
to
do
do
it.
it.
Now, I
Ain't
don't know if
hard,
you got.
ain't hard to do it because
used to it.
What about
ain't hard to do it
birds of a
because
feather flock together?
Do it.
Birds of a feather flock
ain't
together.
nothing
Yeah.
to it because I'm used to it.
Oh,
That
My
sounds like
grandmother used to say, she had big old hands, and she used to say, "I'll knock you to Kingdom Come," and we said, "Where's that? Where's Kingdom Come?" She was rough.
Kingdom come. To
Kingdom come, yeah. And
Yeah,
even
I
when
heard that.
they said the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, and then somebody said, "But who wants diabetes?"
No, nobody
Who
said
wants
that.
what? Who wants
diabetes.
I never heard that part.
No, they
That
did.
part.
Yes, they did.
That's funny.
I never
That's
heard
funny.
that.
That's funny. That's funny. I
My
like that.
That's 'cause they
my
was
great
being
aunt
smart.
Lula.
Videos.
That's funny.
My great aunt Lula, she always tells these little stories and it has a little witty ending. And she was talking about there's this old man at her church, and he was kind of misogynist. He was like anti-women. And the church she went to, this was in Chicago, the pastor had made my great aunt one of the assistant pastors.
Right.
And so she told me, she was like, yeah, he said, I'll never go to a church where a woman is assistant pastor. And she was like, he came anyway. And then she said, he said, I'll never work at a place where the woman is the executive. And I asked her, I said, what happened, Aunt Lula? And she said, before he retired, he ate a slice of that pie too.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
But they
funny.
could just come up with some stuff and you'd be like, what?
I mean,
right.
Well, you know, for many years, we couldn't say what we thought. So we had to find ways around to say the things that we needed to say, and not really say it. And so I think that's where a lot of these old sayings came from, because you didn't want to be disrespectful because that could get you in trouble.
That's right.
yep.
So you had to figure a way to say it where nobody really knew what you meant except the people that you were talking to. So we had our own language, I think, for decades.
Yeah.
And this is just another example of how we talk to each other. And I know in the classroom, I talk to my kids and I tell them all the time that how we talk to each other is not academic language.
Nope.
So
But it's relevant.
it's very relevant.
Yes.
And I said, but you got to remember, when I'm asking you to write something, I'm not asking you to write it in the language we speak. I'm asking you to write it in the language that we're learning. So I think it's important that young children learn that family dialect.
And often they don't even know that they're not speaking the correct English. They don't even know it. I took in the record of Ruby Dee and Ozzie Davis telling the story of The People Could Fly. And they heard the dialect. They were just amazed at how they sound like that. That's how they talk. So I put a big piece of paper on, 3 pieces of paper on the board, one for Bella, one for poor English, and one for standard English. And when they would speak, they would correct each other. You know, that goes on this paper. And that goes, so they really learned that they needed to be, that they were bilingual. And that in the classroom, they had to use standard English. And in the street and at home, and you never put their parents down about how they speak, because that's how their family speaks. And so it was fine until a teacher came in from the South with a heavy accent. And she started talking, and the kids wanted to put her name on the non-English paper. And she was so mad at me. Oh my God. So I had to tell them that they couldn't correct adults, just each other.
It's the truth anyhow.
Yep.
But you know, our children in the South are very proud of their Southern accents.
Yes, they are.
When I went to Mississippi and I was doing Dunbar, I went there with Diane, and we went to the school where Oprah went to school. It was awful at school. The toilets were busted. It was terrible. But this was her high school. The children didn't know I was coming to do speaking a dialect. And they asked me, they said, "Why don't you talk like us?" And I said, "What you mean like y'all?" I said, "What you mean like y'all?" Because I didn't start speaking in the Dunbar. They said, "You got to say this and that," right? So these were the children who were like behind the curtain, behind the stage, helping out. She said, "You got to say this and that." I says, "Okay, I'm gonna say this and that." But when I went out and did the Dunbar, they all just fell out. They just loved it because it was in the language that they still speak now, although they're learning the so-called proper English. They still speak to each other with that heavy Southern dialect. And when they heard the Dunbar poetry, it just blew their mind because they saw me as a Northerner, just speaking in a Northern accent. And they actually told me, "Why don't I speak that way?" And then I came out and did the whole play, and it just blew them away. They just loved it. So they're very proud of their local speech and their local dialect. And they know how to switch up. They know how to go from that to "yes, ma'am," and, with so-called proper English. This is in Mississippi.
Yeah.
We don't speak English. We don't speak English anyway.
It's called code switching.
Yeah, that's true. We don't.
We speak American. We don't speak English.
Yeah.
The British will let you know that.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
The earliest form of code switching I recall is the way my mom talks to me in one moment and the way she starts talking when the bill collector's on the phone.
Yeah.
I know that's right. That's for real.
Oh my goodness. I know.
That was fun. Who came up with that? Yeah, those sayings are a lot of fun. I have a quiz for you storytellers.
All right.
It's on
Out of
Aesop.
school, I don't know.
It's on Aesop and it's easy. Okay. Little friends prove to be great friends. Or you have to tell me the title of the story. Or a friend in need is a friend indeed.
The mouse and the lion.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best Mama Earth and Mama Zinga story.
All right.
Sadie.
Liars cannot be believed even when they tell the truth.
Say that again.
Liars cannot be believed even when they tell the truth.
Can I say? I know.
Who cried wolf?
No, give someone else a chance.
I think she said it.
The boy who cried wolf?
I think Jawara said it. Didn't she say it first?
No, Sister Birdie. She said it.
Oh, sorry, Birdie. Yay!
Yay, Birdie.
Can you see my reaction, Birdie? A thumbs up?
Thank you. I see that thumb. Yeah.
Very good. It's not too many. You are judged by the company you keep.
Lay down with.
You are judged by the company you keep.
Birds of a feather?
Close.
This is baseball?
I don't know.
The Farmer
That's a
and the
hard
Stork.
Mm.
Look it up.
Oh,
Be
yeah.
a looky and
With the
look it
long
up.
straw.
Okay.
Okay. Better. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better to enjoy a simple meal in peace than to eat fancy food in fear.
Oh, that's
A
the
bird in the hand is better than the bird in the bush.
No, that's a title. That's not the title.
Is that the
Oh,
one, the
you guys
dog and
know
the
this
wolf?
one. No. Better to enjoy a simple meal in peace than to eat fancy food in fear.
Is that the little mice story about the mice?
Yeah, you're close.
I'm
I'll
thinking about
give it to you, Dewar. Country Mouse and City Mouse.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
Do not count your chickens before they hatch.
Oh Lord.
Little red hen.
Who?
Little red hen.
No.
No.
Do not count your chickens
I
before they
know.
hatch.
I'm gonna let somebody else get it.
Oh.
We
You
say it all the
catch and you
time.
forget that memorable performance.
That was Family
you
Day,
did
but I
that
don't remember
day.
the story.
When you
Oh,
did
Mom is.
that
Oh yeah, the
funny.
milkmaid.
The
Milkmaid.
Okay, everybody should get this one. Thrifty to prepare today for the needs of tomorrow.
Grasshopper and the ant.
That's who said that? Irma?
Irma.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
There's strength in unity.
The stick. The
Sticks.
The sticks.
Sticks in a bundle.
Yeah, sticks in a bundle.
Good. All right, just what? Slow and steady wins the race.
The tortoise
hare
and
and
the
the
hare.
It's in there.
Very good, very good. You are all bona fide storytellers.
All right.
Jet Black, would you like to sing a song for us?
I can do that, but I have a question first.
Go
Did
ahead.
anybody, like the old sayings, did anybody say, if you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas?
Yeah.
That's what they used to tell
You
us.
did. You just said it.
I did, okay.
Yeah,
I was gone for a minute.
That was fun. We got to do that again, Carla.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
That was good.
That
Yeah.
was
That was
fun.
good.
We'll be more prepared. We'll be looking up stuff now.
Yeah.
Next week we all gotta wear hats though.
A hat?
Oh, that's right. We forgot.
Okay. All
We
right.
Yeah,
gotta do
I
some hat
forgot.
stories.
Do some hat stories. Okay. That
Oh
sounds
yeah.
that sounds
That's
like
a good one.
Yeah.
Hat book.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That sounds like a plan.
That's
We're
a
all
good
wear
book.
hats next week, and we're going to have to tell a story about the hat.
About the hat.
All right. Plus we have the young Nasir for our interlude.
Right. That's our Netflix show right there.
Yeah, that's our okay. All right, Nasir. All right.
I have a song for you. I want to make sure that you hear the music though. So you're going to have to let me know if you hear the music.
Yeah, because we haven't been hearing the music.
I
And
know.
Do you know
I
that you're
know.
like? Do you know like you're a ghost with green stuff growing out of you? For your background, you have to have either a dark green or dark blue backdrop, Debbie. Jet Black.
Yeah, the
'Cause
green.
right now you look like Snow White, who's lost in the bush.
Right, you looking like an ancestor right now. I don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you look like a ghost.
Oh
You
my
might wanna
goodness.
take your background off.
Probably because of the green in the background.
Take your background off.
Oh wait, no, she looking like an ancestor. It ain't the picture.
He didn't look like
Take
one.
your background off. Put none.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
at that pretty face.
Oh. Let me see if
That's
you
a lot
can.
better.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
what we do. We lift each other up.
And black don't crack. We already said
There
that.
you go.
Show enough. Show enough.
Show enough. Let me see if you can hear this music first before I sing anything.
Yes. Okay. Let's hear it.
Somebody got the radio on?
I'm going to have to mute other people so it won't get any feedback. I see her.
Do you hear the?
Play it.
You hear the music? Okay.
No.
You couldn't hear the music?
No.
What the heck?
Play it near the speaker. What are you on your laptop?
Yeah, I got a big old speaker here.
Well, play it. But you know what? It's delayed anyway. So on Zoom, it's best if you just sing a cappella.
Let me see if you can hear this.
It might be delayed. It might be delayed, sweetheart. We have about 10 minutes, so come with it, sister.
Or just play it low so you can sing with it, and then we'll hear it a cappella.
Okay, you cannot hear the music at all?
No.
It's just wobbly. It's very wobbly.
Okay. All right, I'll play it regular. Okay.
Irma, did you want to tell a story or do anything tonight? Storytelling, Irma?
Is she
No,
frozen?
I just don't want to leave anybody out if they want to speak. Irma?
I think
She
her
went to
camera
sleep.
froze. Her camera froze. She's
Oh,
not
my.
asleep. Her camera froze.
Okay. All right. Come on, come on, Jet Black. Do something.
Okay, yeah. Okay, this song I wrote about service. Not just doing lip service, but doing the actual service. A lot of people say they always talk about doing, but this song is about actually doing. Today I did a show for the first responders who were doing a homecoming for a neighbor of mine that just got home from the hospital, and it was a great showing. And it's some people say that they're your friend, but when they show up as a friend, that is total love. So this song, my Oni mentioned it last week, so I said, let me do this song. All right, here goes.
We can't hear the music, Deb.
Yeah, she's gonna do a cappella. A cappella.
Yeah.
What have you done today in his name? 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 Did you feed someone who was hungry? Did you comfort someone who was crying? Did you visit someone who was lonely? Did you praise in his name only? Did you help someone who was helpless? Did you tell someone who was loveless? Did you shelter someone who had no home? Did you praise in his name alone? What have you done today in his name? 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 Did you feed someone who was hungry? Did you visit someone who was crying? Did you visit someone who was lonely? Did you praise in his name only? Did you help someone who was helpless? Did you tell someone who was loveless? Did you chill someone who was lonely? Did you praise in his name only? Ba ba da 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 ba 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 da da ba 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 da da ba 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 ba. That's it.
All right.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Adara, thank you.
Thank you, Jet Black.
Oh, always my
when
pleasure.
Jet Black is performing, and I go to see her at the local pub, and she's with Red Alert, she always lets me come up and be her background singer. I'm always her Mary Wilson. And she never tells me, no, only go sit down.
And you are awesome too. You are awesome.
So she a show by herself.
After a couple wine coolers. I said wine coolers.
Uh-oh.
Blaming on the alcohol.
Uh-oh. All right now. Y'all better watch it.
I missed that.
Mama Irma wants to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say something before my time runs out. This is coming up. The anniversary of my son's death comes up on Tuesday, the 6th. And as long as we keep their names on our lips, they are still here with us. And I'm going to do a Zoom for people who have Eric stories or just nice things to say or just want to remember him, have a few words. It's going to be 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 5th. And I will get to you, Oni, with the ID so you can send it out to people. Okay?
Yes.
I would appreciate if everybody would support me in that. And Paul, I would like for you to do a libation for him.
All right. You already know I'm there.
And so sorry for your loss.
A picture, anything you want to share about Eric. Okay?
I'll send it around.
Okay.
But I'll call you, Irma, because Tuesday I have my ministry school.
Okay. Well, it'll be.
So I will help send it around. How long do you plan on having it?
About an hour.
What time?
7 o'clock. Or 7:30. I'm sorry.
7. Well, I have to. I have ministry school and I Zoom with my husband, and so it's kind of touchy. But I'll help send out the information for you.
Okay.
And maybe I don't know if I don't know. You sure? Is it written in stone? We can't do it Wednesday?
Well, that's the anniversary date.
Yeah.
So we'll talk though.
Right. Because we could use KOTC Zoom, you know. We can use KOTC Zoom. Are you paying for the Zoom, or someone doing it for you? Huh?
Yeah, I didn't know that. That I didn't have to. I was gonna do it on my own.
But listen to this. Zoom. If it only gives you 45 minutes for free.
Right. Right.
And we have this for as long as we want.
Mm-hmm.
If not only, I can do it through my school account. We're free.
Okay.
Okay.
Teachers, we have a school account that's, as long as it's a school, it's free. So if you want, Mama Irma, I can set it up and then we can send out the link. We can email KOTC, put it on the Facebook page, and Mama Only, I can send you the information if you want to put on the website.
That's fine. I'll do it. I just can't show up Tuesday nights.
Not
Okay.
at all, honey. Not at all.
I have to be there with my husband, and we have to be. We go to school. We go to school for life.
And what time do y'all start? 7?
We start at 7. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to both of you. You know.
Okay. And we'll record it too.
Okay.
Call Canambling, and I'll help promote it. I do want to. If you can go longer, then I could probably show up. You know.
Oh, okay.
If you go from 7:30 to
8:30, 9 o'clock.
I'm usually done by 9. Our meeting is 7:30 hour, 90 minutes.
All right. All right.
So
Okay.
7, 8. Sorry, hold on. 7, 8, 8. Yeah, about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah, I can come on then because I'd love to speak about Eric. He was such a nice child to guide in storytelling, and he was so cooperative and kind, and
he was our
wonderful child. And I directed him when he was like 7. What was he? 7 years old back then.
Yeah.
So if you can go longer, then I can come in by 8:30. I could show up.
So maybe we could start it like at 7:45 and then go later.
That would be great then.
I'll follow up with you, Mama Irma, and get everything together.
Okay.
I'm there.
It's Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like, okay, we'll work it out. Thank you so much for, making concession for me. I appreciate it. The other thing is that we have a call for Love Night. If you check your emails, the details are in your emails. Love Night is a night we celebrate love, Black love, African American love, people love, we people love. And we hope to get some new tellers. We also would love to have some poets present.
Yes.
It would be lovely if you could join us this year. And you look in your email and all the details are there.
The theme is Love Undaunted.
Yeah.
That's love despite the odds. So that's gonna be a very good night.
So that's that quarantine love, y'all.
Hello.
Laura, you okay? Any closing words, sis? Anybody want to close up?
I just wanna say, how are we going to be involved with our children after the virus? And they're going back to school on Monday. So next week, I'd really like us to just think about how can it be different for our children. I mean, we're sending them back. We know how they feel about it.
Who's going back to school?
That's what they said. The school is open on Monday.
What school?
Where?
It's
Here.
gonna be online.
Sorry?
Online.
No, school is not open.
It's online.
No,
It must be.
School's out for the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year, school's done.
And it might be some of next year too.
DC, while we have you,
And they probably won't be in August either. They probably won't be going back to school, not even in August. They'll have a little
in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is going to be a minute.
I would like, DC, I would love to hear more about you, and what school do you teach at?
I'm at Elwood.
Elwood, that's in West Philly.
No, that's in
Where is it?
It's 13th and Old Lane Avenue.
Oh, it's in Germantown.
No, it's right behind the nursing home there on Cheltenham Avenue.
My daughter's in
East Oakland. It's East Oakland.
East Oakland. Okay, Elwood. All right.
It's on the other side of Old York Road.
Okay. What do you teach? You do what?
I teach 5th grade.
Fifth grade what?
You're good. You're good.
Elementary.
Self-contained.
Oh, it's all self-contained
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought teachers taught different subjects.
In
I
middle
want to be a history teacher.
Yeah, middle school and high school, but most elementary, they're self-contained.
Yeah,
okay.
elementary can still be K to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's 6 and up. 6 to 9 is middle school, or 6 to 8 is middle school.
Right,
And 9 to 12 is high school.
Right.
But some of them start in 5th. Some middle schools start in 5th grade. Ours does.
Yeah, we start self-contained. Middle school starts in 5th grade for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when do you see yourself going back to school?
I don't know.
I'm not trying to see it at this point.
I don't, because now the shift is going to distance learning, and so that's what we're doing. We're teaching online.
Right. That's right.
Until it's safe, this is the way it's going to be.
And probably, I'm saying at least until a vaccine comes up. That's probably going to be what it is.
Yeah. About that.
Well, Gilead has something out but they're only giving it to the chronic ones who are chronically ill. It's not.
I don't want a vaccine because I don't know what's in it.
Yeah, I don't want no vaccine. You know what's in it.
Well, let me tell you something. My girlfriend from Trinidad, she lives here. She worked in a nursing home and she had it and didn't know it. And it wasn't until she broke out in a cold sweat. She called me today and we talked about it. It wasn't until she broke out in a cold sweat that she got tested and she was healthy. Good thing she was healthy. And she got tested and she had it. And they told her to go home and quarantine and stay away. Her husband was there to just give her food through the door. Okay. And she said she did not know. She just thought it was
that's the
so
problem.
this thing is something you don't know you have.
In everybody.
Right.
And there's some people who are carriers and they never get it, but they can give it to other people.
Yeah.
Lord, I can't get it. I'm dead if it get me. No, because I have asthma and I'm like struggling to breathe every day. I'm on a machine when I need to be on a machine in emergencies. I use a machine and I inhale Brio and Advair every day. So I know I can't get it. But we're going to celebrate with Love Night. We're going to do the virtual Love Night.
Yep.
And we're going to be together every Friday. I'm so glad you came, DC. Mama Birdie, Irma, Carla, Jet Black, Linda.
It's been getting better every week. If you notice, it's been getting.
Mama Jawara, you must smile, Mama Jawara. Don't look so glim. Don't look so.
She is relaxing. She ain't got to smile. You don't tell black women to smile if they don't want to smile.
Yeah, you might get caught.
Tell black women.
You black women ain't got to smile to make other folks feel better.
So when you authority on what black women do and does?
Who you been talking to?
My students tell me that there's this whole campaign about stop telling a black girl to smile, because then all it is you want them to smile just to make you feel better. And if a black girl don't want to smile, then she don't need to be smiling. She's done enough to try to make folks feel good. She don't need to be smiling.
She ain't done nothing.
Oh my
It's your kids. She done raised the kids, you done took her husband, you done maimed her, you done raped her, quit asking her to smile.
That's what's wrong with that generation. They got too much attitude when they should have some gratitude.
No, that's
Thank
perfect.
you.
That don't mean you ungrateful.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. As a matter of fact, those little children that you deal with.
Listen, Mama, she's like, tell us again.
Tell us again why you don't want to be called a gentleman.
Oh, you don't use the word gentleman because the origin of the word gentleman referred to a man who beat his wife gently whenever she got out of line, just enough to keep her in line.
That's the European origin of it, okay?
Right.
That's European origin.
So call me brother.
That's
I'll
European.
call you king, because that's what you should be.
Even better. Ashe, ashe.
I'm
Because I'm definitely a queen. Don't we have queens in the room?
Speaking of queens, chickens that come home to roost.
Y'all better be quiet because Janice the Griot came back on the scene like a wrecking machine.
Tell her, mama.
Don't forget that on
I'm
Sunday.
getting ready to go home, aren't you?
6 o'clock.
No, we still are up. We up. We live and live in color.
Sunday, 6 o'clock, what?
Cause I'm
tomorrow on WURD.
still there because I'm getting ready to call it a night.
Yeah.
We
Now,
up. Use it.
Hold on, hold on.
My jogging
Point of
clothes.
order. I go.
Amen.
All right. Mama Nzinga has an announcement, and it sounds
Yes.
like it's important.
On Sundays, Baba Nasheed is doing Pop Grow Something. And he's on WURD 900 AM. You can go in and stream and put him on the free internet. But at 6 o'clock, he's on with Brother Shamari. It's a very progressive show.
At
And
6 o'clock at night?
Yes.
Yes.
On Sunday.
We're gonna have to get you, Mama Nzinga, to get your whole faith in the middle of that.
Oh, I see that. Okay. I got it
Either
propped
you
up.
go
Wait
up
a
or
minute.
you go there. There you are. There you go.
Okay. So 6 o'clock PM on Sunday, Brother Nasheed, he drums, he tells story.
He should be here.
And excuse me, darling, please let me finish. And he begins and he ends with the story. I don't know if he can, whatever. I did talk to him earlier this week, and I did mention it to him. But if people can come, fantastic. We welcome everybody here, and I'm just glad that you did this, Oni. This is a blessing. But 6 o'clock, Brother Shamari show. It's a very progressive cultural show. There's a lot of information on there, and if you if you want to call in, you can call in. It's conscious. That's all I wanted to say. 6 p.m. Irma's been on there. I've been featured on there. He does storytelling. I mean, yeah.
All right.
But any of us to come on with them. So that's a blessing, y'all.
Yeah.
Irma, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I got a hint that Baba Nasheed is gonna have. There's another character that's coming on with him called Grandmom Do Something.
Oh.
Ooh, Grandma do something. Pop know something.
Grow something, do something. All right.
I wonder what Grandma gonna do.
Hey, you have to stay in to find out.
Thank you, Irma.
It'll be
What
for
I'd
the
like to
community. Though.
what I'd like to add to Nasheed's announcement, with Nzinga's announcement, is that word plays very well. If you have a problem picking up on your radio or whatever, if you download the app, I listen to it all the way in Tobago constantly, just because of what was going on in Philly while I was there. It plays really well over the app. This WURD, Philly Talk. And so, Jan, you can get it. It's a Black-owned radio station, and it talks about what's going on in Philly. I love Solomon Jones. I often call in or text in. The app is free, and you'll be able to hear it very clearly when Nasheed is on there this Sunday. Wonderful, thank you.
James Peterson too. He's good too. They got a lot of good programming.
Yes, they do.
All right.
So, I can't hear you. Who's talking?
Mama Janet, she needs to unmute herself.
Unmute.
Okay, let me unmute her and let's listen.
I had you on mute because I was talking to my husband a minute ago.
Thank you. You're so kind.
But yeah, you didn't want to hear that.
Yes, I did.
Home secrets. My dad say 10 to your business.
No,
I like that.
I know you know what to do.
I was handling my business,
I know you know what to do, girl.
Hey, we've been married for 46 years. I know how to handle my business.
I know you do. I know you do.
Tell him.
I like that. I know he like that too.
Oh, Lord.
All right.
Okay.
Are y'all getting ready to sign off? You're going to be here all night long.
We ain't
We
signing
about to
off,
go.
okay?
May the Lord watch.
We ain't going nowhere.
She ain't going nowhere, but we about to go.
Oh, before I go, how's your dad?
He is doing a lot better. He
Great.
is doing a lot better. He trying to take a trip to Atlanta to see my brother.
Tell Mama we asked about her.
No, he trying to talk my brother into driving up driving in the car to pick him up.
Drive. Oh yeah, drive.
Yeah, my brother
That's
drives, but I'm like, you might want to get somewhere and sit down, Mr. Best.
Okay.
That's a very arduous
Right.
trip for somebody that's dealing with,
Please tell him that.
pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, stay put.
And
Told him.
Georgia ain't no joke, because the people down there crazy.
Ain't they crazy?
They are.
Yeah,
crazy.
my brother, he lives in Stockbridge. He live in the sticks. My brother has a farm down there. So they in the middle of nowhere. But it was my first time to be able to tell my dad, get somewhere and sit down.
And not have to run.
Right. Because you know him, if he can't catch you, he got a pistol nearby. So
I love
My
it.
mom at the shoe.
I love it.
he always tell me, you could take a threat.
Okay.
All right.
Smart man.
All right, let's close out. Mama Janice, would you mind closing us out? Now that you're well fed?
I don't mind at all. I was reminded by Sister Janice Burnett, the Secretary of NABS, that this is a very strange time that we're all going through. But we are people who are used to going through strange times.
Yes, we are.
We are a people who were made for such a time as this, because when everybody else is gone, we're going to be still standing. What other people have gone through chattel slavery? Well, first, freedom, because we always will start with chattel freedom. Let's start with where we started and the beauty of Mother Africa. We have survived chattel slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights, redlining, more people of color dying from coronavirus than any other. But we are chosen people. We are the strongest people on this earth.
Yes.
We have taken the perfection of every other ethnic group and combined it to make it African American.
That's right.
And it is our beauty and it is our strength that will see us through this time.
Amen.
And I remind you all that allow obstacles to become opportunities.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Allow obstacles to become opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I'll
Right.
leave you with that.
Thank you.
Give
Everybody
thanks.
be blessed.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you.
blessed.
Thank you.
Ashay.
Love Mama Linda.
Love all the little squares all around. All the little boxes.
Mama Linda. How is Mama Linda?
Mama Linda.
Mama Linda is doing okay. She's staying home. Her family's taking care. She has wonderful daughters, especially
Yeah.
her oldest daughter. And they're taking really good care of Mama Linda. I've been in touch with Mama Victoria, you know, Baba Sankofa. Anderson just turned 90.
Wow.
Yeah. So get a chance if somebody wants to send a card on over to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're in the same address that's in the NABS. What is that? The membership directory, the NABS directory. They're at the same. So they had a drive-by birthday party for him. People just drove by and honked, and he sat on his porch and waved.
Oh, beautiful.
Mama Linda mistakenly said that he was the oldest male member of NABS, but he is not.
Who is?
Because Jim Maccabee turns 91 this month in May.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they just celebrated their 69th wedding anniversary.
Woo!
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they stay home pretty much.
Yeah.
They don't
She might have
travel.
30 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Now
so
you-
just keep all of our elders in prayer. If you get an
Yeah.
opportunity, go through that directory. It's called the Bellamy's, called the Maccabees, call our elders. You know, those people that you know are suffering from pre-existing conditions. And all, but of all of it, you know, we have quite a few elder members in NAB. So pick up the telephone, just give them a holler, send them a call.
Yes.
That's what I've been trying to do. Ruthie McIntyre, Victoria Smith just turned 89. and she can still do splits and lift her leg over her head.
Oh Lord,
Love
yeah.
her. I love
That.
That don't crack.
She's the ninth wonder of the world.
sister, I forgot her name. She's Mother Mary's cousin, but she's in Baltimore.
Oh, Joan. I was just on the teleconference with Joan because she's the vice president of NABS, but she's either in her late 80s also.
Yeah,
And she
really.
may be creeping into the 90s, you know. But
And she's the vice president of what?
I said NABS, the Real Circle.
Real Circle.
Okay. I'm gonna call her.
Yeah, give her a holler. Just give people, just go down the directory and pick up names that you know are our elders.
Right.
What is the lady's name in Amy Jackson that plays the harp in Detroit? Yeah, give them a call. Send them a call. Let them know you're thinking of them.
Yes.
Is the Griot Circle having its meetings on Zoom?
I defer. I'm not. I try to stay out of Anaquali's way.
Oh, okay.
But NABS is having it. Mention NABS.
I have my hands full being the president of NABS. I can't.
Right.
Well, I want to report.
Having a Zoom coming up, right?
Pardon?
NABS Zoom is coming up soon. When is the first?
Storytelling, the village telling on May the 13th.
Yep, we're doing rehearsal tomorrow.
Benora's going to make sure that she sends through member clicks reminders and links and everything that you need to log on to the virtual storytelling.
I have it written down. What time will it be? You know the time?
Me.
That's okay then. I'll get it when Benora sends it around. But it's just for me.
Actually, we're having rehearsal for it tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 4 is the rehearsal.
No,
I don't have the time in my book, so.
All right.
But it'll be sent out and all, you know, the time zones, get yourself straight. So happens Philly and Baltimore and the same. I think I'm
gonna look it up. I think it's
I can wait if she's gonna send out member clips.
But she's gonna send reminders. You're gonna have 2 more reminders.
Okay.
It's at 8:05. May 13th at 8:05 p.m.
8:05.
Thank you. I still got my old school binder.
And then she will send, so do I.
I don't trust the phone.
And she will send reminders out, and it'll go through member click. So if you're a financial member, you will get the reminder.
Okay.
And in the reminder, it'll have the link and time and how to phone in, how to download if you don't know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna tell my powder story for the concert.
I can't wait.
Well, don't tell me because I want to hear it at the concert. I'll see you tomorrow, Paul, at the rehearsal.
Yes. I haven't forgot. I'm still working on the Instagram.
You're representing KOTC, so don't be straggling, okay?
All right. I'm getting ready to go. I just got finished dinner and cutting my husband's hair and all kinds of stuff now.
What? All right.
Now I need
I cut my husband's hair too. He loves it.
All right, you all.
It's time to call it a wrap.
Y'all be safe, be well. I love you all. We'll see you all next week, next Friday.
Right.
If I
love y'all.
If I log on next week, I have an original poem for you.
All right.
All right now.
We
Come
ready?
on with it, girl. Come on with it.
All right. Bye, y'all.
I want to hear Little David at some point.
Adios.
Go to bed.
Love, love.
Bam. I like that.
Bam. That's what I like, right? Bam.
As my dad used to say, shut up and go to bed.
Love to see you
They
come.
used to say,
Love
you don't
to
have
see
to
you
leave,
go.
but you just got to get out of here, right?
Everybody brings happiness. Everybody brings happiness. Somebody coming, somebody going. Bye.
You wear your hat next Friday. Good night,
All right.
everyone. Have a
Friday
great
the
week.
hat.
I love
Okay.
you all.
Thank you,
Love,
Amy.
love, love, love,
Love
love.
you.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Love you all. Take
Blessings,
care.
everybody.
Good to see you all. Bye.
All right, good
Love.
night.
Have a great week.